Imagine leading a room full of scientists, researchers, engineers, and subject matter experts who know way more about the technical details of a project than you do. If you're like my client who is an experienced senior manager at BASF, your first instinct isn't to lead, it's to overfunction, which is pretty much just overcompensating for your perceived shortcomings. You start taking on all the tasks. You become the one bringing every project to fruition. You think that if you're the most overworked person on the team, they'll finally respect your authority. And you get trapped there. You may realize this isn't sustainable, but now it's going to take effort to make this shift. Because here's the thing about that. When you try to be the best expert in a room full of experts, you aren't leading. You're reacting. I get a lot of people asking me about this and different shades of the same thing. Can I manage or lead people who are experts in an area where I have less knowledge or even no knowledge? And the short answer is yes. Yes, you can. Today, we're talking about how to lead a team when you don't have their technical expertise. We're deconstructing how my client moved from being a fixer who is overwhelmed by research and regulatory reviews to being an architect who leads from decision making. If you've ever felt like you're leading from behind because you're afraid to let go of the details, this video is your blueprint. I'm Christina Holloway. For over 25 years, I've coached senior leaders at organizations like Google, Meta, GE, and Oracle to architect their authority and navigate the high-stakes politics of Fortune 500 businesses. On this channel, I show you how to stop playing small and start communicating with the presence that demands a seat at the table. Happy Valentine's Day. Today, we're talking about a different kind of relationship, the one between a leader and their team of experts. All right, so let's get started. Like I said, my client works at BASF and manages R&D. She had been a leader for many years, but she was hitting a wall. She was leading a group of 30 scientists in a high-stakes research program that included intense regulatory review. Despite her experience, she was reverted to fixer mode. She told me, "I'm overwhelmed, I have too much to do, so I just take all of the tasks myself." So why does a seasoned leader do this? Because of a specific type of imposter syndrome. When you lead experts, you may feel like a fraud if you can't do exactly what they do, or you're not experienced in the exact same thing they do. You think your value is tied to your doing, not your directing. So in my client's mind, she had to be the one to bring the projects to completion, or she wouldn't be known for her value. She was stuck in the weeds of continuously developing this training program, because she felt others depended on her to finish it. And that's not actually what she wanted to be working on. She was essentially holding the flashlight for everyone else instead of pointing the way. And this is important. There is a narrative that takes hold if you're leading a team of experts and they don't like you or don't respect you, they will give you a hard time. Or they'll tell you, well, you're not trained in this field. What makes you think you can manage us? So let's just talk about that for a minute because it's not real. That's not a real thing. Management consists of a set of frameworks. Anyone who is a seasoned manager knows at a certain point that you can give that manager anything in any field or industry, and they will know how to manage that team and lead to a measurable result. Good managers. Caveat. Yeah, it helps to be familiar with that industry, but I'll also tell you something that's actually true. Experts like researchers, scientists, and engineers don't really want to be managers. They like their technical jobs, and if you give them a choice, they will pick their area of expertise because, they've spent a lot of time and money to develop their expertise and they enjoy the work. It's rare to get researchers, scientists, and engineers who are good at leading people and also want to do it. Ask me how I know. I work with a lot of clients on this specific scenario. For my client, we had to work on one specific shift, moving from execution to decision making. So I asked her, what happens to your authority if you stop doing the tasks and start architecting your framework, right? And this is hard. When we're in it, sometimes we really can't see it. You might tell yourself, I am architecting, I am in charge, I am leading. And you probably are. The question then becomes, where are you directing your energy? Are you leading like someone who's putting together a puzzle, Or are you leading like someone who is building a foundation or building a structure? There's a difference. And if you find that the things you lead have a beginning and an end and happen pretty regularly, like my client who was always asked to work on the same training assignment, then you're putting together a puzzle. It's finite. You can take it apart and then put it back together again. And if you get really good at it, you will eventually be able to put it together again in record time. And you become really good at putting that same puzzle together over and over again. When you're building a foundation or a structure, you're contributing to something much more solid, something with staying power. It's not something that can be taken apart easily and rebuilt over and over again. Any contribution you make to that foundation or structure is intended to move progress forward. Your next contribution will be at the next phase and the next phase and the next until the entire structure is built, which could take years. And that's strategy. That's effective decision making. And that's exactly how my client thought about her work. She decided to share her training program framework with a peer and let that person take it forward. She gave opportunity to the next person who was happy to build puzzles for a while. Don't get me wrong, building puzzles is important. You learn management and problem solving, and then you outgrow it. And when you're working with experts in their field, you may have a very high incentive to move toward foundation and structure and decision making. My client wanted more, so she stopped being the bottleneck for tasks and started being the architect of the process. This is the key for anyone leading experts. Your team doesn't need you to be another scientist or engineer or an expert in execution. They need you to be the person who removes the roadblocks and makes the final call. Your expertise isn't in the specialized research. It's in the strategy and the vision. They want to work in their area of expertise. Your job is to always keep a path open and clear for them to succeed. These two elements are supposed to complement each other and work together. So once my client let go of the doing and putting the puzzle together, something interesting happened. She had more time for the regulatory review, the part of her job where she needed to lead from authority, not just effort. She stopped trying to prove herself through work product and started validating herself through her team's success. If you're leading a team of experts right now, remember, you don't need to know more than they do. You just need to know how to use what they know to reach the goal. But how do you actually do that when you're sitting in a room with 30 PhDs and you feel the weight of their combined expertise? You develop what I call a signature authority protocol. There are 3 specific architect moves you can make to command respect without needing to be the smartest person in the room. Number 1, the translation move. Experts often get lost in the sauce of their own data. Your value is being the one who can translate their technical brilliance into business impact. When they give you a 40-page report on their research, your job isn't to check their math, right? It's to ask, how does this data change our regulatory timeline? You are the bridge between the lab and the boardroom. Number 2, the precision question. You don't need to have the answers. You need to have the better questions. Instead of trying to find an error in their logic, ask, what's the one variable here that could derail our approval? This forces the experts to look at their work through your strategic lens. It signals that you are thinking about the structure, not just the puzzle. Number 3, the responsibility barrier. When you lead experts, they will often try to hand their problems back up to you. My client had to learn to say, I trust your technical assessment on this. My role is to help you navigate the political pushback we might get from the C-suite. What do you need from me to protect your work? By doing this, she signaled that she respected their expertise and expected them to respect her authority. She stopped being the most overworked person in the room because she realized that her job wasn't to do the science, it was to protect the scientists. At the end of the day, leading a team of experts when you aren't one is a test of your internal authority. It is the ultimate cure for imposter syndrome because it forces you to acknowledge that your management framework is a specialized skill set in its own right. My client at BASF didn't need to go back and get a second PhD to lead those 30 scientists. She just needed to stop being a fixer. who was overcompensating for her perceived shortcomings and start being the architect who owned the framework. If you're currently drowning in tasks because you think doing is the only way to earn respect, I want you to take a look at the structures you're building. Are you putting together a puzzle that will just be taken apart tomorrow? Or are you laying a foundation that will support your team's success for years to come? If this message hit home, type authority in the comments below. I want to hear from the leaders who are ready to stop holding the flashlight and start pointing the way. This is part 2 of our February series on the Imposter-to-Architect shift. Next week, we're tackling a tough one: what to do when your team doesn't respect you. We'll be looking at a case study from Spotify to deconstruct how to regain your dignity and respect in the workplace when the culture has turned toxic. Quick reminder to make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. And as always, you can grab my communication toolkit at the link below to start drafting your own structural asks today. I'm Christina Holloway. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.